A foreign enslaved pregnant woman runs into the wilderness. She's been used by one person and abused by another. She has no community, no advocate, no institution protecting her. And in that wilderness, God shows up. Not in the temple, not through a priest, not inside the institution, outside of it. And she becomes the first person in all of Scripture to give God a name. I'm a therapist and ordained minister, and I think her story might be the most important story in the Bible for anyone who's felt cast out of a place that was supposed to be safe. Hagar was Egyptian, a servant in Abraham's household. Sarah, Abraham's wife, unable to conceive, gave Hagar to Abraham as a surrogate. This was the custom at that time. But let's not dress it up because Hagar had no say. She was given, used, and handed over by the very family of faith. She gets pregnant, and then the household fractures. She has issues with Sarah, and then Sarah treats her harshly. The text doesn't soften it. The word in the Hebrew is the same word used for the Egyptian oppression of Israel. And the irony is brutal. The people of God are treating this woman the way Egypt treated them. And Hagar does what a lot of wounded people do. She runs into the wilderness, pregnant, alone. No plan, no resources, no community. She's not looking for God. She's looking for anywhere that isn't the place that hurt her. If you ever left a church, a place of worship, not because you had somewhere to go, but because you couldn't stay where you were, then you know and understand Hagar. And then something happens that changes everything. Verse 7 of Genesis 16, the angel of the Lord finds Hagar by a spring in the wilderness. Not in the temple, not in Abraham's household, not inside the institution. Finds her in the desert by water. God finds her in the place she fled to, not the place she was supposed to be. And God asks two questions. Where have you come from and where are you going? She can only answer one of them. She says, I'm running from Sarah. She knows she is running from, but she doesn't know where she's going to. And that's part of the human condition for everyone in the gap. We know what hurts us. We don't necessarily know what's next. God gives her a promise about her son Ishmael. And then Hagar does something unprecedented. She gives God a name, El Roi, the God who sees me. Not the God who commissions me, not the God who has a 5-year plan, not the God who explains why this happened. The God who sees me, the God who bore witness. That's it. That's enough. She's the first person in the entire Bible to name God. Not Abraham, the father of faith, not Sarah, not any patriarch. A foreign, enslaved, pregnant woman who ran away in the wilderness names God because God saw her when nobody else would. Years later, it happens again. Isaac is born. And at some point, Sarah demands that Hagar and her son Ishmael be cast out. This time, Hagar doesn't run. She's expelled. The first time she chose to leave. The second time, the institution removed her. She's in the wilderness again, this time with a teenage boy. The water has run out, and she puts her son under a bush and walks away because she can't bear to watch him die. Then God shows up again. Hears the boy crying. Ishmael means God hears. Opens her eyes to a well that was already there. 2 wilderness moments. 2 encounters with God outside of the institution. The first time God gives her vision, El Roi, the God who sees. The second time, God opens her eyes to provision that was already present. Sometimes healing doesn't require God to create something new. Sometimes it just requires God to show you what's already there that you couldn't see in the midst of pain. So, what does Hagar's story mean for us? It means that God is not limited to the institution. If a church casts you out, if a pastor silenced you, if a community chose the system over you, God still is with you. God is not inside the walls waiting for you to come back before he shows up. God found Hagar in the desert, and God will find you wherever you are. It means being seen is the first step of healing. Before God changed Hagar's circumstances, God saw her. Before the rescue comes the recognition, and for a lot of people in the gap, being seen, truly seen, witnessed by someone who understands the wound and the faith is the thing that starts the healing. And it means you might also be sitting next to a well that you can't see yet. The provision might already be there. The community might already be forming. The healing might already be underway. And what you need is not a new miracle, just eyes open to what may already be present or what may already be in front of you. That's what At the Table is about. It's a gathering for people like Hagar, people who've been cast out, people who are sitting in the wilderness, people whose faith is alive but whose trust is broken. A seat at the table where welcome is the point. Because the building does not make it sacred, it's the welcoming that does. Next week, I'm going to talk about the hardest part of this journey. What do you do when a church or place of worship that hurts you is never going to apologize? Because that's a very real thing. When there's no acknowledgement coming, when the pastor or leader is still preaching and the system is still running and nobody ever says we were wrong. How do you heal without closure? That's the question, and we'll talk more about it next week. Subscribe so you don't miss.